Well, here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. I already knew we were going to have the Simps coming out here and defending Dani Lalanders when she made her racist statement against white people. We knew that was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be a Unity game developer, though, but apparently it is. We have an article here from That Park Place with a headline that reads, Unity game developer Scott Anderson defends Marvel's Black Panther developers' race-based hiring discrimination. Obviously, we're talking about Dani Lalanders. If you guys didn't see that video, please go check it out. She is absolutely insane in every way, and she talked about how she refused to hire any white people when she was making the game Validate.
We have no white people on our team. I did that because I wanted to create a safe environment. And I know the best way for an environment to be safe is to be around people who are just like me.
Now, of course, we all know that is literally the definition of racism and discrimination, but, you know, for some reason, black people have this idea that it's not the same when they do it. It's never the same when they do it. Good old daddy oppression got to hold them down so much that when they do things, it's because of preservation and not racism. So let's get into this article, guys, from That Park Place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says Scott Anderson, a senior graphics engineer at Unity Technologies, defended Marvel's Black Panther developer Dani Lalanders and her race-based hiring discrimination while she developed her game Validate. Lalanders admitted to race-based hiring discrimination during a presentation for the Game Devs of Color Expo 2021 that was recently brought to the public's attention after Lalanders defended Sweet Baby Inc. and admitted that she was in fact racist. Now, you guys already know that story. Let's continue on with something a little more recent. It says, as noted above, Lalander's comments were brought to attention when she accused gamers of racism, but then admitted she was racist while attempting to defend Sweet Baby Inc. Lalanders also worked for Sweet Baby Inc. between October 2022 and May of 2023. She posted on X, gamers have been really racist lately, and I'm trying to ignore it, but it's hard not to when I see it sometimes. Just creating problems in your head. I don't understand the outrage over video games, especially games they have no interest in playing. Now, let's be very clear. Nobody cares about your games that we didn't want to play. I just want to be very clear. Nobody cares about your game Validate because we never were going to play. Nobody cares about games we weren't going to play. People care about the games we were looking forward to that we now cannot look forward to because people like you are working on it. That's the issue. When you have someone who is the victim, when you have someone who believes the ideology that you do, you will inject that ideology into the game. You will inherently try everything you can to push that in the game that you're making. You may succeed, you may not succeed, but you will try, and that's the problem. We can't be excited about the franchises we used to love or be hyped for in the past because we know that it's ruined by modernity now. We know that it's ruined by the modern audience, or aka the modern developer that loves to just inject this stuff any chance they get. It says in another series of posts on March 7th, Lalanders wrote, I just stopped taking y'all seriously when y'all start running around saying white people can't experience racism because I did not suffer through 2020 for y'all to act like you weren't an ally to BLM 4 years later. Well, nobody was an ally to BLM. Not anybody that I know anyway. Nobody who was smart was an ally to BLM. Everybody who was an idiot, which are most of the liberals that donated to BLM, that now has provided mansions for the owners. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. And for you to pretend like you suffered in 2020, what'd you do? What did you suffer? How did you suffer worse than anybody else who was locked in their houses? How did you suffer more than anyone else? Get out of here with that nonsense. Posting that tired-ass screenshot of the Google definition of racism, I just don't care anymore. So you don't care about actual facts. You don't care about the actual definition of racism. I get it. I understand. It's a little hard to follow. She would later admit to being racist in a response to Riley Man 1080, who wrote, haha, so being appropriately called racist is tiresome, huh? You could just try not being racist. She responded, yeah, I'm racist, so what now? There you go. I'm glad you finally admitted it. It wasn't that hard, huh? Then she said Lalanders later stated that if you believe you could be racist towards white people, that makes you racist. Oh my God. The wordplay is just hilarious here. Racism and prejudice are not the same thing. Racism is systematic. Lalanders explained, white people are not systematically affected negatively by racism. Certain groups of white people throughout history have been affected by prejudice based on where they're from. Oh, so now we're trying to differentiate the two, and we're trying to put one on a pedestal and the other under it. That's interesting. Now we have the guy in question, Scott Anderson. So Scott Anderson is trying to come out and defend Dani Lalanders. Let's see what he has to say. Anderson defended Lalanders posting on X, people calling a black woman building a studio with all POC a racist and equating it to a white man starting an all-white studio is wild. If the power imbalances that actually exist in reality were different, sure, but there is no way these things are equivalent. He added, this is of course ignoring that white men start studios that are all or mostly white men all of the time and no one cares. Well, that's because nobody questions it because we're so used to merit-based hiring from the past that we have to start wondering that when your company speaks, here, I'll put it to you like this. When your company hires a whole bunch of black people or all black people, nobody would bat an eye if you didn't say anything. When the white people hire all white people, they don't say anything. They don't come out and say, yeah, we hired all white people so we can feel safe in our environment because we want to be around people that look just like us. They don't say anything. They're too busy hiring people based off merit and trying to hire people that are going to be best for the job. Sure, if you want to throw in some racism in there, go ahead. But ultimately, they're not out here virtue signaling on Twitter about how they hired all white people. You, on the other hand, are virtue signaling on Twitter about how you purposely hired all black people, how you purposely excluded white people from the hiring process because you deemed it unsafe. Because if you hired white people, you felt like it was going to create the environment that would be unsafe for black people, which is a ridiculous argument, but you're the one that started it. So if you don't want people breathing down your neck about you starting a studio that happens to be all black, maybe you should just start the studio and not say anything on Twitter. Maybe you should not virtue signal online about how oppressed you are. Then maybe you probably won't get a lot of hate. But see, the problem is you can't help yourself. That's the difference. You can't help yourself. If a white guy makes a studio and it happens to be all white people, guess what they're doing? They're working on the game. If a black person makes an all black studio, guess what they're doing? Virtue signaling on Twitter about how they created an all-powerful black beauty, black excellence studio. That's the difference. Anderson then justified the race-based discrimination, writing, worst case scenario, this is a result of trauma, not a desire for exclusion, and definitely not supremacy. Yeah, sure. Context is completely ignored in all these discussions. This is a valid self-preservation tactic for black people, not a way to gain power over others. Listen, if you're trying to really convince me this is not about supremacy, I really don't know how to respond to you other than you're an idiot. You really are. You want to be top dog so bad. You do, because I can tell based off how you think, and I could tell based off how you constantly want to talk about how white people are the oppressors, they are the ones that are above you, etc., etc. I could tell that you so desperately want to be the white man. I don't know for what reason, other than maybe you feel like you want to taste that supremacy that you talk about all the time. Who really knows? So ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's pretty damn hilarious when people like this, like Scott Anderson, want to come out and pretend like they're some of the most oppressed people in the world while they're talking on their iPhones and using their laptops and using everything made from capitalism, all the stuff they hate. It's very obvious, ladies and gentlemen, that this person has a victim mindset. You will never be as successful as the white people that you claim to hate so much. If you are constantly stuck in that victim mindset, you need to get out of that victim mindset. Stop worrying about what other people are doing. Stop worrying about what the white man is doing, and start worrying about how you can become better at your job and better for your company. Or if you made your own company, how can you build a long-lasting studio that will actually make good games and not virtue signaling pieces of shit that you want people to try to pass off as video games? We can tell the difference. Gamers are not stupid, and that's your problem. You say too much. You talk too damn much. That's your problem. You don't know how to stay quiet like the white man does at the right moment and just say, you know what? We made a studio. We're going to focus on making good games, and we're not going to go on social media until our game is ready or ready to get close to launch. That's the mindset you should have. But instead, you make a studio and you want to run. You want to run right to Twitter and be like, yeah, I made a black studio. Yeah, I didn't hire any white people because you guys are dangerous. Like, what? And then you're wondering why people are angry at you. You're wondering why people even question you. You got to be kidding me. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.
And I'm not saying that white people in the industry are creating unsafe environments. I'm not saying that. That is not what I'm saying. I am saying that sometimes it is hard to work with white people because they think that something may be okay, but it was really a microaggression.